Let's talk about Jess Phillips. Kemi Badenoch yesterday called Jess Phillips the worst women's safeguarding minister we've ever had. Now, Jess was on the BBC's Newsnight last night trying to excuse her past behaviour. I mean, she was the one who, if you recall, just before Parliament closed down in the winter, she was the one who stood up and said, oh, no, there's no need for a national public inquiry, and in fact said that there may not even be any need for any local inquiries. We'll leave that up to the local councils. Well, that would be like marking your own homework.
Your own homework, yeah.
That would be a terrible idea. But anyway, here's Jess last night on the Beeb.
Maggie Oliver herself, a whistleblower, says Labour and the Tories have both turned a blind eye.
Maggie Oliver is absolutely right. When Sarah Champion came out and spoke about it, at the time, I completely and utterly supported her. So, yeah, look, people have turned a blind eye. There's no I'm not denying that.
Including you?
Absolutely not me. I have never turned a blind eye. I never would shy away from calling a problem what it is.
Well, she may not have turned a blind eye, but she's one of the people who tried to sweep it under the carpet in a major way. Don't forget that when she stood up and said no need for a national public inquiry, possibly no need for even any local ones, that was the last day of Parliament where all the MPs were packing their bags for Christmas or whatever it was, and there was hardly anyone in the House. They tried to bury that. So she was involved in this operation to sweep this terrible scandal under the carpet. Elon Musk called her a rape genocide apologist, and she said, oh, well, what the Prime Minister, this is in response to what Keir Starmer said, oh, I think what the Prime Minister was saying was that the Conservative politicians, Kemi Badenoch, the Shadow Home Secretary, Jess Phillips, he was saying they were jumping on the bandwagon of Elon Musk. Now, if Elon Musk, which he was calling for a national public inquiry, what's wrong with jumping on that bandwagon?
No, there's nothing wrong with it at all, and it certainly doesn't make you far right either. I think with Jess Phillips, I think that when it comes to her record on women's rights, I think that she has a very inflated opinion of herself, if truth be told. I think that she hasn't, in my view, she hasn't spoken frankly about the issue of grooming gangs. Now, that might be because of the demographics where she's the MP in those neck of the woods. I think the reality is there's a growing body of evidence which shows that men of Pakistani heritage are overrepresented when it comes to participation in grooming gang activity. I mean, talking specifically about men of Mirpuri heritage. So I think that we need to have a very frank debate, and it's something that Baroness Casey mentioned before the Select Committee, that we need to be very honest about ethnicity and culture. And I think the fact that there's so much missing data when it comes to recording the ethnicity of perpetrators, you have to ask why institutions failed to record that demographic data. And the data which is available very much suggests that there is an overrepresentation of Pakistani heritage men. So it's very important to understand the cultural dynamics there. I call it sort of biradari style clannishness. You have this almost, it's the very ugly side of family unity, tight-knit community networks, and multi-generational cohesion. It's the dark underbelly of modern multicultural Britain. Now, if you're very honest about the grooming gangs, you will mention that. You will talk about the cultural and societal drivers of group-based child sexual exploitation and abuse, and be honest about it. And I think Jess Phillips has fallen well short.
Yeah, what she's done. What she's done since she was elevated to the lofty heights of the cabinet, became a minister. She swallowed the ministerial Kool-Aid, and she talks the party line. And she has, like everyone else in the cabinet, tried to sweep the rape gang scandal under the carpet because it's embarrassing for Labour. For that, I think Kemi Badenoch has a point. she certainly could be criticised, I would say, for the way she performs her duties as Minister for Safeguarding Women and Girls, because trying to sweep the rape gang scandal under the carpet, that isn't safe. That's the opposite of safeguarding women and girls. So I think that going forward, Jess Phillips, you know, should maybe consider.
Kevin, I'll make this point that earlier in the year, Labour's initial plans to do the rapid audit, which is led by Baroness Casey, but to have 5 local inquiries, that was wholly insufficient to begin with, because there's been nearly 50 towns and cities which have been identified when it comes to problems regarding grooming gang activity. And it was on the brink of Easter parliamentary recess, where it looked like this was being watered down even more. A paltry £5 million fund for locally led work, essentially local institutions rating themselves in terms of how they performed in this front. As you say, it's marking your own homework. It's like foxes guarding the hen house, in my view. So it's absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Jess Phillips actually said, well, it's for Oldham Council to decide whether or not they want an inquiry. That's ridiculous. That's like saying it's for a bank robber to decide whether or not he should go to jail, you know. It's absolutely absurd. Now, Baroness Casey, listen to this. This is speaking to this kind of reluctance to confront the reality of what was going on. You're being quite kind in a way. You're saying there's evidence that a disproportionate number of the rape gangs, you know, were Muslim men of Pakistani heritage. In fact, if you look at the pictures of all those who've been convicted, it's like nearly all of them. It's the vast majority of them. And the reason that some liberals, the Guardian readers, are still saying, actually, there's no real evidence that it was the majority. And I'll tell you why there's no concrete evidence that the majority or the vast majority of the rape gang members were Muslim men of Pakistani heritage. That's because the police and the authorities didn't record the ethnicity of the rapists in, wait for it, 2/3 of all the cases. Have a look at Baroness Casey talking about this very syndrome.
I think that there has been a tendency for people who've been worried about the story to have been labelled as racist.
Yes, I mean, I found it in Rotherham. It was one of those moments in life where I was following through on a children's file, an archive, and found the word Pakistani Tipexed out. And I thought whoever did that inadvertently was giving ammunition to the English Defence League that were every week in and out campaigning and doing their stuff in that town. I think the problem is that people are worried about being called racist. In a way, they just give more ammunition to... If good people don't grasp difficult things, bad people will. And that's why we have to do it as a society.
Well put by Baroness Casey there.